Hi there, this is Pastor Sherman Burkhead, and this is Grace and Truth, a devotion that's meant to encourage you and challenge you to grow in your relationship with Jesus Christ through a time in the Word and time in prayer. And today is June the 19th. It is another beautiful day outside. And I got to tell you, God is so good. Yesterday, my oldest daughter, it was her birthday. And it's just amazing to me, now she's in her middle to late 20s. The fact of the matter is, it's just amazing to see her grow up and be a wonderful mom and a wonderful wife to her husband, Todd. I just am grateful to her for the grandkids that I have, Jaylee and Noah. And I'm really, really I have to tell you, I'm super, super proud of her. I am super proud, to just say that she's my daughter and super proud of just, again, of the mom that she's become. She's really, in her young life, has met some adversity in her own life. But she has risen to the occasion. And again, when I look at my grandkids, I see how loving they are, and I just see how well adjusted they are. It's just a testament to her. And again, also to her husband, Todd, my son-in-law. I'm grateful to him as well. So with that, I'm grateful to God for my older kids. And the fact of the matter is it's amazing because I still, even with my older kids, I still feel kind of like they're little kids, but they're not. They're grown-ups in their own right. But now I get to enjoy them more and more as friends, which is another blessing that God gives us, that we get to raise our children and they get to become some of the best friends that we have. And so I am just grateful to God for such an amazing blessing. So hello, Debbie, and hello, Christy. And anyway, so that's what I'm grateful for. And I'm also grateful. I got to just add one more thing, because again, I think that the Christian life is about gratitude. The fact of the matter is we as Christians, God, by his grace, invited us into a relationship with him. He paid the entire debt. He changes our hearts. He, makes us who are rebels against him, his children. On top of that, even before that, he gives us, things like the wonderful taste of food, the warmth of friendship, the comfort that you feel in an embrace of a loved one, family. There's so many wonderful things that God has given us. And so I think that life should be about gratitude to God to start with, but especially the Christian life, because God gives us more than we possibly deserve. And so, again, I'm grateful for my kids, but I'm also grateful for the pastors that are in my life. I have a number of pastors that are outside of the community that I talk to, that I fellowship with. There's a group of guys pastors I meet with periodically before COVID-19 and now after, who are just ministers that have their own churches, and we have, a lot of similarities theologically speaking, and we get together and we talk about things, we joke, about things, and don't take ourselves too seriously. I'm just grateful to have them in my life, to speak into my life and to keep me grounded and help me to stay focused on what's important, which is the exposition of the Word of God. In that, I also have to say that I'm just grateful for this community. I'm grateful for the members of this community. I'm grateful for the people who are here. A young girl yesterday went missing, teenager, and then a family member posted something online, and quickly they found they found out where she was. The fact that there's people in this community rally around each other and they love on each other, for all the differences that we might have over different things, the fact of the matter is there are people who are there, and no matter how difficult things are, there are people in this community who are willing to put themselves aside and are willing to go and love people where they are. So in that, I have just a lot to be grateful for. And I want to encourage you too. If you just feel like you're at a place that maybe like in your life where you're fearful, but there's a lot of fear going around for sure. But if you're in a place where you're fearful, if you're in a place where maybe you're discouraged or you're feeling, maybe you're feeling down, or you look at the darkness in the world and you begin to feel like this weight crushing in on you. My encouragement to you, the antidote to you for that, is really to look to God in gratitude and to really take stock of the things that God has done for you. I mean, to say count your blessings might seem contrite to some people, but it's really the truth. Even in the worst possible circumstances, you have a lot of things that you can say thank you to God for. There are a lot of things in your life that really you don't even deserve, but God sees fit to give them to you, and he loves you, and he lavishes those things on you. And even, again, in the worst possible times, that we have so many things that we can rejoice in and be grateful to God for. And I really think about like the Christians of old. I mean, in our time, as I've said before, like I said on Sunday, is that there's a part, the world is changing to where we're going to experience some things that we in America just haven't experienced before. Some difficult times, possibly. I'm not a prophet, but I mean, it does seem like some things are getting more difficult. But I think about the Christians of old, those who were persecuted by the Roman Empire, right? Christians who were persecuted at different times. The Christians who rose up and reclaimed the gospel during the Reformation faced intense persecution at the hands of the Roman Catholic Church at that time, and people were being killed for their faith. And I mean, in fact, there was even part of our history is connected to that. People wanted to worship God, in freedom. And I look back and you see that even then, that people were actually quite joyful, even in the midst of great difficulty. In fact, Francis Chan talked about, he talked about some missionaries that he had met, and they went to another country and they were captured. And I think that they were, it was in a Muslim country, and they were captured, and some of their cohort were killed during that time. There was a call for them to deny being a Christian. And that when they finally were out and they told this story, one of the missionaries said, I actually miss, which strangely enough, I miss the difficult times that I was going through. I miss the difficulty that I was struggling with there. Because what he realized is even in the darkest moments, he could sense God's presence even more. That even in like the time where he was fearing for his life and being imprisoned for his faith, he could still find reasons to be grateful to God. So in that, I didn't mean to get off on that tangent too far, but I guess that's my encouragement to you is be grateful to God for the things that he has given to you. And so I certainly would love to hear from you. If there's something that God has made you particularly grateful for, please, by all means, you can email me at fbcbourne@gmail.com, or you can message me here, or you can post it right there in the comments. I'm watching them live. And if you watch this on YouTube later, then I won't be watching it live, but also you can call me at the office here at 760-762-5149. But I want to direct your attention to Ephesians, chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6. And I want to begin looking at verse 11. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, and against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual fortresses of evil in the heavenly places. And then he goes on and talks about keeping on the whole armor of God, which is a whole topic to talk about by itself. But the reason why I bring this text up is I think that we as Christians need to be very clear about something. We need to remember who our real enemy is. And I say that is because, as we talked about on Sunday, the fact of the matter is we are in a war. We're in a war against the enemy. The fact of the matter is I think that sometimes we as Christians don't take the fact that we're in a conflict seriously enough. In fact, when you look at the Bible talks about warfare language over and over again. Paul talks about putting on the armor of God, talking about who we're fighting against. Jesus himself said that the church is supposed to prevail against the gates of hell, this idea that we are actually storming or coming against in conflict the gates of hell. The Bible over and over again uses wartime language. I mean, Paul, when he talks to Timothy, he uses wartime language. When he gives him a charge, it's a military term. And that he's need to be prepared for battle and he needs to be prepared to fight. And so in that, I think number one is we need to be really, really clear as Christians that there is a battle that's raging. And that we as Christians have lived kind of isolated from this battle for the most part because we've not faced persecution in our country. And praise the Lord, we haven't. I mean, God has blessed our country to where we can actually live in peace. And that he's used us to then share the hope of the gospel with the rest of the world. But obviously that's going to be changing. The conflict has become more pronounced. And I think that the fact that we have not really been focusing on the fact that there is a conflict has made us apathetic in the sense that we don't feel the sense of urgency to be the church and to meet needs and make sure that those who go out into the world have what they need to be able to meet those needs and to spread the gospel. And so number one, we do need to be very, very clear that the call to battle is exactly that we are called to be on mission for Christ. The mission is the mission is the mission. It doesn't change. Christ came into the world to save sinners. Now, Christ's purpose ultimately is to glorify God. And that's what God does. He has us, whatever God does, he does for his glory. But that's accomplished through saving of sinners. Christ came into the world to save sinners, and he enlists us into that mission. That's why he gave us the great commission. Hi, beautiful. That's my wife, Kimberly, saying hi there. That's why Christ gave us the great commission, that we are to join him on his mission to go out and share the gospel and make disciples of all the nations. That's part of the process, right? Now, this mission is not a mission of just simply going places and hugging people. This is us going and doing what we need to do. That is to confront sin and to battle against the enemy with prayer and through the word of God. It's going to be a difficult, hard-won struggle. Right now, there is also absolutely the time for us to love each other and hug on each other and support each other and be encouraging. But sometimes we also have to be convicting. Sometimes we have to also be confrontational. I mean, you look at Jesus. Jesus was confrontational at times. And so were the apostles. And so in that, we have to remember that this is, again, a conflict, as Paul alludes to. That's why he talks about putting on the armor of God. He's talking about a Roman soldier's armor. But the other thing I want you to realize is, and this is, I think, is important, kind of like connecting with what we talked about the last few days, about loving our enemies and being, quick to hear and slow to speak and slow to anger. Right? What we need to realize is the enemy is not other people. That's the one thing that we have to hold on to. Should we be angry at the rise of sin? Absolutely. Should we feel a sense of tension because the enemy is actually bringing the fight to our shores and we see it in our communities? Absolutely. But the reality is our enemies aren't other people. Our enemy is the devil himself, and his device is sin. He uses sin against us. He uses sin to divide people. He uses sin to suppress people's thinking in their minds. And so in that, what we have to realize is when people come back against us, with their opinions about things, we need to be very gracious and loving and understanding that not, that our goal is not to vanquish them as people. Our goal is to love them and point them back to Christ. And so we see that in the problem is the enemy's really good at manipulating us, and the enemy's really good at manipulating us against each other. I don't know if you see that. That's what's happening in the world around us. There's division. Right? Division is really, really, really clear. People are lining up on just about every side of every issue. And what happens is then that division creates these very strong positions, and people have bought into these positions to the point where they're saying, if you don't agree with me, then you don't care about me. If you don't agree with me, then I don't want to talk to you. If you don't agree with me, I don't want to be your friend, right? I've seen this with the Black Lives Matter thing. I've seen people say that if you don't see it the way that I see it, then you're wrong and you're stupid and you're just hateful and you're just a racist and a bigot and you just might as well unfriend me. I've seen this with politics, that people have these really, really strong feelings about their political leaders, right? And what they're saying, right? And what they're saying to one another is like, you're just stupid for seeing things the way that you see. I just can't, and the level of rhetoric has just gone through the roof, right? It's the same thing with COVID-19. Like this whole thing with COVID-19, this is a surreal experience from the beginning of March to now. Like we have this, it's been completely just wild. The way that people have created rules and applied them seem to be completely arbitrary. What's considered essential, what's not essential is very arbitrary. I mean, even now that there's rules and regulations on gathering when it's an actual legal gathering, like going to the store or to a church or going to the movies. But then there's no rules when it comes down to gatherings like protests and taking over city streets and things like that. It's like suddenly nobody cares about those things. Right. And then to make it worse, and to be honest, it's so funny because it's like everybody wants to say that they have the market cornered on wisdom or the information or science, as people, will point to. But then when you really actually look and actually do the research, you find out that there's so many opinions. And really what happens is people are taking the data and they're coming at it from different angles and they have different points of view. And so what ends up happening is instead of us respecting each other, we just start hurling hand grenades at each other, saying, "Oh, if you don't do this, then you must be, a person who's a jerk, or if you do it this way, then you're somebody who's just sold out for this," or there's a sense. I mean, even people are saying that if you don't do things the way I do them, then you obviously don't care about me as a person and you don't love me, And I say that because I see that all over the place. It's just incredible. In fact, can I make a confession to you as a pastor? If it wasn't for the fact that social media allows me to be connected to you and to share devotions with you and to be encouraging, and then also to hopefully because I am encouraged by many of you, the things that you say and the things that you're sharing. If it wasn't for that, I'd give up on Facebook right now. I'd give up on social media right now, because just the abject impatience that people have with each other and the abject vile nature with the way people treat each other, and just the blatant disrespect for people's opinions, for other people seeing differently, is just more than sometimes I can even take. There's just times I look at that and go, why do I even have Facebook? I just want to just almost ignore everything and just post things. But then I'm trying my best, to actually engage in and be loving even when people see things differently than me. So I say all that to say is that we have to remember who the enemy is. Right? The enemy is not each other. The enemy is the devil himself. It is Satan himself. He's the one who's wanting to create division in our communities. He's the one that wants to create division amongst our family members. He's the one who wants to create division in our churches. He's the one who wants to create division in our, in our country. Because if he can divide us against ourselves, and what we do is we just then use our sense of self-righteousness and and our sense of superiority to beat each other up, right? By the way, if you want another text to apply to the situation, how about this one? When Jesus said, before you try to take out that plank out of somebody else's eye, or that speck out of somebody else's eye, take that plank out of your own, right? Now, I say that to say I don't want you to misuse that, because Jesus didn't say that we are never to judge. We are absolutely to righteously judge certain situations, and we're supposed to call sin, sin. But what Jesus is saying is before we become critical, especially of our brothers and sisters in Christ, we need to make sure that we have actually dealt with the sin in our own lives as well. That's the point he's making. But in that, I think that what we need to do is, we need to come back to who Christ is, and remember, we need to have grace. Because I'm just going to tell you, if there's something that I need from God today, is His grace. Because as try as I may to want to glorify Him and please Him and to be His disciple, I am going to fall short. in ways that I probably know that I'm going to fall short. And man, there are just going to be ways that I probably don't even know that I'm going to fall short. I mean, I remember even like now being a pastor, almost 8 years here. Like I remember some of the things that I've told people, how I've counseled people. There are things that I've even thought, and maybe even things I've even taught at the pulpit at one point or another. I go, Lord, why haven't you just stricken me dead for being so stupid? The fact of the matter is I need God's grace, right? And I'm just going to tell you, so do you. And we need each other's grace. We do. That's what we need more than ever right now. We need each other's grace and patience. Now, does that mean that we have to agree on everything? No, we don't. The fact of the matter is the truth is the truth. The facts are the facts, right? And we have an obligation to the best of our ability to stand up for the truth, to lovingly stand up for the truth. The fact of the matter is we need to continue to stand up on the truth, but I can still love you, and for us not to see eye to eye. I still respect you as a human being and still not see eye to eye. And I would just expect the same back from me. And I would just expect that we as Christians would be extending that to everyone else. Because God, who is perfect and who is always righteous and who is always just and who is always right about everything, continually is patient with us and is continually gracious toward us. So if we're going to let anything shape the way that we treat other people, let it not be how other people are doing it, but how God is doing it. I mean, think about it, brothers and sisters. The sun came up today by the grace of God. You have food in your refrigerator to eat by the grace of God. The very next breath that you're going to take is a gift from a holy and righteous and just God who doesn't owe you it. How much more should we be gracious to each other? And so that's my admonition to you. I know that's probably a little bit long-winded, but you know what? This is my devotion, so I can be long-winded if I want to. But anyway, I'm grateful that you are here. But I will say that my admonition to you is the same that I would give to myself. Is we need to remember we are absolutely at war, but we need to remember who we're at war with. And we need to be loving and gracious and patient towards other people, hoping that we would begin to lead them to the knowledge of the gospel, that we would plant the seeds that God would use to change their hearts and draw them into a relationship with Christ. Because ultimately we know that's only He's going to be the one that's going to change hearts. Only God is going to be the one to change his hearts. And so that's my encouragement to you, is that when you go to social media, and maybe it's good to maybe take a break, but if you go to social media and somebody gets you all riled up, take a deep breath and then just remember that the agitation and the irritation you're feeling is the enemy trying to divide you. Now, in that, again, do we still hold firm to the truth? Without question. But we can always do so being like Christ, being full of grace and truth. And by the way, that's why I call the devotion Grace and Truth. So I would certainly love, by the way, to know what your thoughts are about this devotion. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd certainly like to see the comments in the comment section, even after this is not live, and even this is posted on YouTube. I'd certainly like to hear your comments, and certainly would like thumbs up if you got them, and if not, that's okay too. But let us come before the Lord, and let us, as a community, let's pray for the rest of our community. Heavenly Father, we love you so much. We thank you so much for your grace and mercy. You are beyond amazing and good to us. And Father, let that just be the starting point of our day. Let that be the starting point of our lives, that we just have clarity of thought and understanding of where we are theologically, Lord, that you are God and that you are holy, righteous, and just, and we are the exact opposite of that. We are finite, we are broken, and we are selfish, and we are sinful. Even when we think that we're right, we can be self-righteous. And so, Lord, I just pray, Lord, that we then, seeing that, realize that you are good to us beyond that we possibly deserve. What we deserve is the worst that you have to offer. We deserve your wrath. We deserve your justice. We deserve your judgment. We even deserve, even be grace if you would just make us all disappear and never even experience hell. That would be grace. But instead, you give us life. You give us love. You give us the love of loved ones and friends. You give us a church family. You give us hope, Lord. You give us strength and courage. Lord, you give us, things like technology so we can stay connected to each other. You've given us the gift of transportation where we can drive, and you've given us the abundance of food. Even though there might be a shortage of steaks right now, there's still plenty of food to go around in our country. You give us good things like taste buds to taste food with. You give us the gift of just how wonderful it is to have people in our lives to hug. You've given us the gift of friendship and people to talk to and to minister to. I know that I just am grateful for the people that I lean on that I can talk to. Father, you were just, again, beyond good to us. And if we could just start there, maybe our perspectives would change and see that it is by your grace that we have these things, not that we deserve them, that then that would shape how we then go out into the world and treat other people, that we would realize that people don't deserve our grace, but we don't give it because they deserve it. We give it because you, Lord God, are our example, and we give it because you're good, and then you are deserving of our very best that we have to offer. Maybe that should change and shape our hearts, Lord. And also that we would just be mindful of who it is that we are at war against. That even the worst of the worst sinner is a casualty in this war, and who is a slave to the enemy who needs to be set free. That our job is not to shoot the wounded. Our job is to bind up the wounds and to love people where they are. That our job, Lord God, is to speak the truth in love. That our job is to serve one another, even when it's inconvenient. Father, there's so many things in the text that speak to this, Lord. The way that Jesus washed his disciples' feet is just another example of that. Father, I just thank you so much for your word. And I just pray, Lord, that our hearts would be changed by it, and that we would go out into the world, and that we would create revival, not because we're good, but because we are submitting ourselves to your word and your truth, Lord. And that we would live as people who love our enemies and pray for them. And that we would be just very, very slow to speak, but very quick to hear. And that, Father, that we would point people to the only solution there is, which is Jesus Christ. Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and life, and nobody comes to the Father except me. Jesus is very clear. There's only one hope for the world, and that's him. I pray, Father, you'd help us all to point to him in our words and in our actions and our attitudes, Father. And I pray, Father, that when we fall short of that you would use your grace to cover over our shortcomings. Father, you are so good, and I just pray for this community. I pray for those who are broken. I pray for those who need healing. And I pray, Father God, for marriages and relationships that need strengthened, Lord. And I pray, Father, you would glorify yourself in all that we say and all that we do. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. So please know that you are all loved, and you are prayed for, and you are deeply missed. Looking forward to seeing you guys this weekend. Grace and peace. Talk to you soon.